The legendary South African rugby coach Danie Craven famously said that the most important player in his team was his tight head prop, and the second most important player in his team was the reserve tight head prop. Despite World Rugby's efforts to depower the scrum and make it less of a feature of the game of rugby, it remains one of the core bits of identity of a rugby match. Instantly recognisable, makes it unique from any other sport, and I think there's an argument that that quote from Danie Craven is still as true today as it ever was. So let's celebrate some of the Jurassic giants on a rugby field, the men that wear number 3, the anchor of the scrum, the tight head prop. This is the player power ranking. I'm going through 1 to 15, every single position, and ranking the top 10 players on earth, taking into account current form, so the rugby we've recently seen, Rugby Championship and November Tests, for example. Also taking into account historic form, so a player's entire body of work, and a bit of gut feeling in there as well, because this is an opinions business after all. I want to know yours in the comments down below. I would love it if you would help me spread the channel and this video by giving the video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe, because there's going to be loads of good stuff coming in 2025. Right, the last time out, just after the July Test matches, this is what the top 10 looked like, and I think there feels like there is currently underway in this position a changing of the guard. There's guys that are well into their 30s, and there are some other guys that are coming into their prime years. And I think what we're starting to see, and this will continue in this updated top 10, which I'll go through in a minute, that changing of the guard is starting to happen. But who will be at the top? Who will be 1 to 10? I can say there are 2 new faces coming into the top 10, 2 players dropping out. There are 4 players staying exactly the same. So 4 going up and 4 going down, with 2 of those out of the top 10. One of the guys who nearly went out of the top 10, Luke Tangi, who stays where he is in the number 10 position for Fiji. He's only played 2 games for Fiji, I think, since the Rugby World Cup. In the November Test, he played against Spain, which I didn't see, and he played half a game against Ireland, where they got soundly beaten. So I am taking into account this guy's body of work, which is pretty handy, let's be honest. He was amazing in the Rugby World Cup for Fiji. Just an all-action, ball-carrying, offloading prop who has massively improved, as Fiji have, their set-piece work. Now, there were a couple of players who were very close to getting into the top 10, and they are Will Stewart, who's been really good for England, and Tevita Tatafu, who is the new cap for France. He's only played a couple of games, and he didn't quite have enough body of work to oust Luke Tangi, although they both play at Bayonne. And Luke Tangi is quite often on the bench, and Tevita Tatafu is the starter at Bayonne. So I think Luke Tangi's spot in the top 10 is under threat from Tatafu, depending on how well he does in the Six Nations, and same goes for Will Stewart. Luke Tangi, 27 at the minute. Back into the top 10, one of the new faces this time, Taniela Tupou, Tongan Thor. He is back in. He played 4 games in the Rugby Championship. He played against England in that great win for Australia and against Ireland. A massive positive that he is back in the fold. Just a huge man, 135 kgs, bustling, energetic, intense when he's on the field. Quite often plays for half a game, maybe a little bit more than that. He's going to be a massive part, along with Angus Bell in the front row for Australia, of a big 2025 with the British and Irish Lions series on the horizon. So hopefully he can stay fit. Tongan Thor at number 9. Another Tongan, but one who actually turns out for Tonga, Ben Tameifuna, is at 8, dropping 4 positions. Now, he played against USA and Georgia in November. He played in the Pacific Nations Championship for Tonga, which is great to see, because a lot of the Islanders who play in France didn't play for their nation in that tournament. Ben Tameifuna did, but it does feel like, you know, he's 33, 34 now. It does feel like his performance levels are gradually dropping. That's why he's dropped on this list. But still, on his day, an amazing player, and a really unique one as well. 150 kilograms of Tongan muscle right there. Number 7, Vincent Koch, who actually goes up a spot. I've been so impressed with him in 2024. He's basically played the whole of 2024 for South Africa. Started that one game against Wales, where he got his 50th cap. And then since then, he's been on the bench every single time. And he is so good in that role, playing, against Scotland, England and Wales in November, he played 35 minutes in every single game. And that tends to be how he's used. 5 minutes into the second half, he comes on, and along with well, the bomb squad, has a massive impact on games. He has been brilliant. He's 34 years of age. How long can he keep this going? He's gone up a spot in my top 10. Let me know what you think if you disagree. One player going down 3 spots, Wesley Atonio, much like Ben Tameifuna. I think he's the same age. He might even be a year older, 34 I think Wesley Atonio is. Another giant man like Ben Tameifuna, 150 kilos, he tips the scales. Huge man, so hard to replace. Tavita Tatafu for France could be that guy coming through. Wesley Atonio, how much more has he got? He was going to retire after the Rugby World Cup, came out of retirement for the Six Nations, looked pretty good to be fair. He played 1 game in November and looked absolutely gassed in that match against Argentina. I think he'll make it through this Six Nations. That might be it for Wesley Atonio. What a player he is though. Still well worthy of a spot at 6 in the top 10. Tell me if you disagree. Tadhg Furlong. This is an interesting one. So Tadhg Furlong stays where he is in the number 5 spot. He's only played 2 games for Leinster in October since July, and that test series against South Africa. So I'm leaning heavily into the credit in the bank for Tadhg Furlong, who at one point was the best tight head prop on the planet. That's why, despite not playing very much, that's why he stays where he is. I'm absolutely certain when fit and firing, maybe in the Six Nations, he will come back to form and could even be going back up the list because he is outstanding. It is a British and Irish Lions year, and I mean, most people would be expecting Tadhg Furlong to have been the almost automatic choice for the tight head prop position. It is not looking like that right now, largely because he hasn't played, but Tadhg Furlong stays at number 5. This guy could be the highest riser of any player in any position in the player power ranking series, potentially. Well, he certainly is at this moment in time, and it's just thinking ahead to other positions. He might be the highest riser out of all because he is outside the top 10 to number 4, which is quite a big call, I appreciate, but that is what an impact Thomas du Toit has had, certainly on me in 2024. It's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because I've already mentioned Vincent Koch, who is used on the bench for South Africa. Thomas du Toit, when he plays, usually starts. He started at tight head prop against Scotland in November. He started against loose head prop against Wales in November. I mean, that in itself is absolutely amazing. He started 2 games against Australia in the Rugby Championship. He also started against Portugal. 3rd choice Bok at tight head prop, but at number 4, how do I square that circle? This guy's amazing. He's absolutely immense. I think he could well be on his way to the number 1 spot on this list. There's other players that'll have something to say about that, and I'll come to them, but he's so good. It seems to me he's the heir to Frans Maloba's throne. At the very least, he's going to be a massively important man for South Africa in the build-up to and during the Rugby World Cup because he can play at international level on both sides of the scrum, which is a very, very rare commodity. He's the best, well, he's easily the best prop in the Premiership, where I watch this guy play for Bath regularly. He is arguably the best player in the Premiership. He has been immense in 2024. I've got him at number 4. I know that's quite a bold call. Let me know if you disagree. Into the top 3 then. And just ahead of Thomas du Toit, Xander Fagerson, another man who has had an amazing last 12 months. Truly exceptional. Thomas du Toit is 29, coming into his prime years. Xander Fagerson is 28, another player coming into his prime years. I mentioned there's a bit of a split in the age profiles. You've got guys well into their 30s and guys just coming towards the end of their 20s. Xander Fagerson is one of the latter, and he's had a brilliant year. And I would say at the moment, if you were picking a British and Irish Lions team right now, Xander Fagerson is wearing 3. It's his work rate. He has a solid set piece. The work he puts in around the park, ball carrying, tackling, jackling, he's absolutely amazing. What an engine this guy has got for a big old unit of a fella. I think he's about nearly 130 kgs. What a brilliant year. Won the URC with Glasgow. Key man for them. And yeah, he will be looking to push on. Scotland, I was going to say they're dark horses for the Six Nations. I don't think they are dark horses. I think it wouldn't be a giant surprise if they went on and won that tournament. And guys like Xander Fagerson being in peak form will be a massive part of that if they manage to pull something like that off. Top 2 then, unchanged. At number 2, Tyrell Lomax, 28 years of age and an ever-present for New Zealand throughout 2024. Played in quite a few games, played 65, 70 minutes as well. So he can go deep into matches. Fearsome scrummager, brilliant ball carrier. He is outstanding. Possibly, I would argue, well, Darnie Craven said the quote, I reckon he might be the first name on Scott Robertson's team sheet. He is outstanding. And him, Thomas du Toit, I think are looking like one of them could ascend to be the number one on this list in the years ahead. But for now, the number one on this list remains Frans Maloba. How could it not be? Yeah, he had 4 starts in the Rugby Championship. Injury meant he couldn't play in November. But if you want to talk about, that's why I don't take into account only current form, because Frans Maloba would be dropping down because he hasn't played that much in the last few months. But I take into account historic form. And how much more credit in the bank do you need than being as rock solid gets for years? He is, I mean, if there was a World Cup final this weekend and I could pick anyone, I'd pick Frans Maloba for exactly that reason. Everything else can function if your set piece takes care of business. And he takes care of business at set piece time. Some interesting stats when you look at the list. So there you go. 2 new faces coming in. Tupou back in. Thomas du Toit flying up the list. And some of those guys dropping are guys that are well into their 30s. Tameifuna, Atonio, Tig Furlong. Could he go up? Could he go down? But then, there, as I say, Tavita Tatafu looks like he could be coming into the top 10 next time. Will Stewart, if he continues playing well for England, he's going to be threatening the top 10 as well. And there are others. Let me know if there's anyone else you would suggest might be deserving of a spot in the top 10 now or in the future. Some interesting facts about this group of men. I said they're the giants, Jurassic-sized human beings. The average weight, listed weight of the 10 men here, the average is 135 kilograms, which is, oh well, in the UK you would understand that as just over 21 stone. What's that? In American money, that must be £300. Just humongous men. The age, like I say, half of the guys on the list are between 32, 33, 34, and half of them on the list are 28, 29 in the case of Thomas du Toit, 27 in the case of Luke Tangi. So there is that split, and I think this list is going to change a lot in the times ahead, which is why I do the player power rankings, because in the middle of 2025, we'll have another look at it, by which time there'll have been some more international rugby played, and some of these guys will have been able to show whether they're worth moving up or dropping down. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. Give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.